Okay. Welcome everyone to the Monday, June 15th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Trustees, the Village of Lansing. It's a joint meeting also with the Planning Board of the Village of Lansing. We have a fairly busy agenda tonight. I ask that everyone, because we're working off the microphone, our PC microphone tonight, that everyone speak up. And we have a fairly packed agenda. So keep your discussions as crisp as possible because we want to get through the entire agenda. If we don't, we stop at 9:30. We cut off everything left in the agenda tonight. So just do your best to keep it crisp. And to do that, I will call our meeting to order officially at 7:32. And first thing I'll do is I'll do a roll call for the Board of Trustees. Susan Ainsley,
Present.
Carolyn Greenwald, Pat Gillespie, here, and Kathleen Yen, and Ronnie Hardaway is here. Mike, would you like to call the order of the planning board?
And I will call to order the Village of Planning Board portion of the meeting to order also at 7:32 p.m. And we do have a quorum and everyone is here.
Okay. So the next order of business is our public comment period. This is the period of our meeting where anyone who has a topic they would like to discuss with us, either in the room or online, which I don't see anyone has joined, can speak up. Hearing none and seeing none, I will move that we close the public comment period. I need a second.
Second.
Susan Ainsley seconds. All those in favor, all trustees in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. And since no one's here for public comment period, we will move right into the agenda to keep us crisp. But before we do that, I have a special announcement. Tompkins County Department of Planning and Sustainability performed a GML 239 review of the 2026-2036 comprehensive plan that we adopted on March 2nd, 2026. And they found no significant countywide or intercommunity impacts. So we just needed that on our record for the village.
Also, a certified copy of the resolution approving the comprehensive plan has been sent to Tompkins County.
Okay, so that's done. So our first topic on their agenda tonight is our code change update, and that would come from the planning board.
Yeah, so Ollie and Lorraine, actually really anybody chime in. So for the better part of last year, we went through the chart of uses and took a look at what was allowed in each of the the various zones that we have around or the various districts that we have. Had discussions. We broke up. I know I provided a similar update at the last meeting, but broke up into a couple teams just to go over them to make it a little easier to do. We've finished that up. We went back through, Lorraine and I, and made sure that we captured everything appropriately from what people presented in their small groups to the larger planning board, and also anything that we had kind of talked about in the meeting, because there was a lot of that too. So Lorraine and I went back through and made sure everything was accurate. We have everything documented now in a kind of an offline version of the chart of uses that we'll be passing along with trustees after we incorporate some definitions for some of the uses that were missing, some that need to be updated because they were just woefully out of date, or very sparse. Some of them were too long. We're trying to condense them too and just make them accurate for how things are in the village nowadays, not just the village really anyway. And then there's also some new uses that we're recommending that we want to get in there too, that some of them are brand new uses. Some of them are splitting some of the things that are under one use apart in the current chart of uses into two, kind of like what's the one example, like light industrial, light manufacturing versus heavy manufacturing. Yeah, so splitting things apart like that, and there's just a couple of them. So again, I mentioned it last time too. It's been a great process though, just reading through the entire section of code about that and realizing there were some things in there that were really none of us were aware of. So Lorraine, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well.
Any other comments anybody from the planning board want to make about it? So hopefully, like I said, this is our long break between our last planning board meeting and the next one coming up in a couple weeks. I've done most of the changes to the kind of offline version that we're reviewing, so at the next meeting, we hope to go over, at least for a little bit of time, the last couple sets of changes, including looking at definitions, so that we have something to provide to the trustees in a package for a recommendation.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit at this point to separate out certain code changes that are simpler to accelerate them, or is everything best as a package?
We had this discussion, and anybody else can correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about it too, and we kind of thought at this point it would be better just to provide it as a package. We're really close to the finish line on it. It's not like, oh, it's another 2 months of work or something. I think it's a couple more meetings, and we should have
Okay.
the package.
I was thinking specifically about, like, we talked about services, and now there's the service permit, so something where there's permits, rolling permits. But yeah, I agree with you,
Yeah.
everything's gonna come to us.
I think even if we passed it along, even
Well,
if we
this
said,
summer's already-
right, I was gonna say, even if we said, hey, yeah, here tonight now,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if it would make a difference or not.
You can pretty much handle whatever's in the districts and all of the uses, and we don't have the very commercial activity, let's create, other than that as much. We've discussed it, what we'd like to have in there, what not to have in there, like. Between personal sales and commercial sales, we really haven't gotten down into that yet. I'm not sure that that's gonna be part of the first wave of things coming to you. Will simply be like uses within the district, like things like that, so.
Up to Chris.
Very, very good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I look forward to having those, and, for, when they do come to the trustees, we're likely going to need a planning board member,
Yeah.
someone to be there in case there's a question at the
Yep.
last minute.
Yeah, so that was a lesson learned from the last one. I forget what it was, the solar law. So, at least myself and somebody else will be here to at least be able to answer questions about the thought process or about why we're recommending this versus that. So, yeah.
Okay.
Being able to define a use will be much clearer.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It will be for me and anybody else that comes along, that needs to be much clearer.
You know,
And
that's,
some of them are simple things too, like changing, 1 unit, 2 unit, and multi-unit to residential, comma, so at least they're next to each other. You can, for people who are applying for permits or want to do things in the village, they're all here. It's not like I've got to try to
Yeah.
figure out in the chart of uses or like where these things are. So,
right.
those are really simple things.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the type of work that you get it done on it. So I appreciate it. And obviously, if questions come up during that meeting and we can't answer in the meeting, we can answer after. There's not an immediate decision necessary. So anyway, okay, thank you. Great job. The next topic is to review the implementation priorities from the comprehensive plan. Carolyn, I guess that I would need you to lead that discussion.
Well, I would say that, I don't want to impose my own implementation priorities on the group, hear from other people, but you can see from the work that I'm doing what my priorities are. And I would say that they were the Greenway, which we can get to separately, economic development for the village, intermunicipal cooperation and communication, and community engagement. So those are the things that are forefront in my mind, but I think the purpose of this meeting is more to hear globally from everyone else, what they read from the comprehensive plan that they really see as where we're gonna move.
Lorraine, I know you had some specific questions about some certain pages in there too, and just thoughts about.
Let's try to find mine. The reason that I had suggested that we put this on the agenda is because we have it stated in the comp plan. Saying that at our semi-annual joint meeting of the Board of Trustees and Planning Board, we would review the priorities. And discuss progress and priorities.
Yeah, so we can discuss the progress and priorities, so I can give the Greenway update now, which is, the comprehensive plan calls for the Greenway plan to be updated, every couple of years, and what the Greenway plan is being updated right now by the Greenway Committee. Sort of what we wanna do with this update is look at the parks both as a whole system for the village, and then also try to give each one individual area, identity. We wanna make sure that the public has an awareness of how to get from park to park, like as we travel through our park system. So creating a new map, even though some of it's gonna be sidewalks and some of it's gonna be not even sidewalks. At least you're gonna know kind of how to get to A from A to B. We have new maps that TG Miller created of the existing park features, and then we're gonna have like a priorities goal for each park, and each park, we want each park to have that unique identity and see what we can bring to it. So greenway projects that are moving along nicely is, we have the Memorial Shade Garden planned for Hartel Park, and I think that's gonna be happening, this summer planting. We have the pollinator garden for Shannon Park, and I think that's gonna be hopefully in the next couple of weeks planted. I have kind of really big ideas, my biggest idea that I'm hoping will be part of the greenway plan is to sort of create Bill Dankert Park into like a sports park. And I'm really hoping for pickleball courts and kind of like an exercise trail. And really change the identity of that park, which will lead into my next priority in the village is the economic development. I think really enhancing that park will be good for the whole economic development of the village. I mean, it won't be like the be all end all, but it'll be something that draws people into the village. So that's like my big dream for that. So, does anybody have any greenway questions and then I can talk about economic development?
I guess if we're going to worry about sports parks, we've also got some sports facilities on Marion Hart Hill, so we might be able to. What I was thinking is if you have like a tournament where they needed a couple fields that they could have multiple games in.
And I really wish Marion Hart Hill had tennis courts. I think that if we built those there, that would have been a big boon for that particular park to bring people in. But pickleball courts are smaller and they're harder to place because they're so noisy that I think Bill Dankert Park is actually like a big pickleball park. But yeah, bringing sports to all the parks is, nothing so good. So
Since you're talking about that, I thought I would just mention this, the YMCA is holding a free youth summer. soccer
Excuse me,
league.
a what?
The YMCA is holding a free summer soccer league.
Okay.
For and they are planning to use Hartel Park is one of their locations.
Good.
Yeah.
awesome, that's
Yeah,
great to
yeah, I've been promoting that park to as many people as I can, and I've been encouraging them to use that park now for almost a year.
Thank you.
So,
Well, one of the big takeaways immediately from Cornell Design Studio looking at our parks is they were saying that Hartel Park looks like it's on a private road and there's no signage
right,
on Moray, and that's like job number one is
Well-
to put a sign out there that says public park, quarter mile.
yeah.
So that is definitely on the Greenway Committee's radar.
People in the village don't know it's there.
No.
I took a walk one day with a woman who was looking for a place for a 5K and I was promoting Hartel Trails and she goes, Lorraine, I don't even know where that is. So we walked and she was like, she couldn't believe Hartel Park. She was so amazed and she's like, I can't believe this park is here. She goes, I had no idea. She had no idea the trails were here. And she's been a village resident for a long time.
So the Hartel, I didn't mention this, but also is in the works is the new trail at Hartel Park. And once we have that trail and it's marked off with trail markers for mile markers, then we really could have a 5K.
Right, and the YMCA actually was seriously considering moving their jingle job that they've been holding at Stewart Park the last 5 years, because of my encouragement. They wanted to try and use our trails, but that's why we were walking it.
Crazy.
And it just wasn't gonna work out.
But it will once
Once
we
you
move
have a
it.
mile loop, then they can run 3 times, so
Yeah.
maybe next December they can.
That would be great if that
Yeah,
trail is
yeah,
there.
and
So
then-
we're working on the easement to just get the top of that trail. We just need a little bit of property at the top and John's been working really hard on that.
I know he
As
has.
soon as we get that, with that
I'm
trail.
really worried that Park Road is gonna hold that up for us. But
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
we also have that other option as well with the clean packs maybe.
Yeah.
So between the two of them, I think one of them will come out. And it's gonna be so beneficial to the residents of those apartments.
Right.
Yeah, so that's good.
So many people walk those trails. And I can't even tell you, I mean, I've been out walking very early in the morning, before 7, and there are so many people out walking the trails. And it's so much fun, because it's the same people, like, all the time, and they're, it's like, good morning,
So another dream idea I had was to connect, Ned Hickey to Marion Hartsell with a more noticeable specific trail between the two parks. So maybe it'll go through Lansing trails, or maybe it'll be like a bike path for kids. Cause if there's like a short 1 mile flat bike path, like everyone will teach their kids how to bike on it. You know, and it goes between two parks, I could just see that being so family friendly. So that's also like another great goal of the Greenway Committee update. That'll be one of the other ideas in there. So yeah, my priorities are, like I said, Greenway economics, interdisciplinary conversation, and community engagement. So with regard to economic development, the commercial area advisory committee is having its first meeting this week. And I'm hoping that that group will have some new ideas about what's to do, and will develop its own sort of game plan agenda, like what it wants to be as a committee. And I'm hoping that they want to take on the job of updating the design guidelines along with the Cornell studio, because we got accepted to that Cornell studio to do the design guidelines. I'm hoping that they want to do that. You know, did you guys see that article that, I don't remember if it's the town or the city of Ithaca is passing a vacancy tax?
Yes, yeah.
That set up my radar immediately. I would like to talk about that, either with this group or with the other committee, but I love vacancy tax. Or maybe with our attorney. So yeah, so a vacancy tax would be great, and then I'm also, I don't know, I wanna try to pursue bringing that pop-up library into the Chicago area. Just economic engagement and economic development. Intermunicipal communication and cooperation, I think that's a great way to, you know, work symbiotically with our neighbors. I did not know until a resident emailed me that the village of Kego Heights is putting in a sidewalk down Kego Heights Road. And they had a TAP grant for that. I didn't even know about that until last week, so I, feel like maybe there's some intermunicipal communications that we could expand on. It's possible that the village wants to tap into the end of that and go up to, forgot the name of that neighborhood, it was 13. Maybe that's an option for some residents, but if we don't know about it, we can't do it. Now, it turns out they have to kind of define their pathway because of economic reasons, but they have the grant, so they're gonna build something. So I really wanna be working with all the other municipalities as much as possible. And community engagement, I'd say, is the last important topic from the comprehensive plan. We still don't have any kind of social media. I think that we should reconsider that.
So I want you to know that I've done a lot of thinking about community engagement, and I actually have a recommendation, and I brought it with me tonight, and I was hoping to read it. Okay, let me know if you can't hear me, I'm gonna try and talk loud. We need to strengthen community engagement by creating clear opportunities for residents to learn about the village, its services, and what we offer. By fostering a welcoming environment and demonstrating our commitment to the community, we can encourage greater participation on village committees and build stronger community connections. A key part of this is increasing our visibility and presence at local events. We should actively host informational tables at high attendance gatherings within the village. For example, 1 or 2 YMCA events each year, or other community events like the Winter Farmers Market held at the Triphammer Marketplace that draw significant participation. This type of direct engagement helps build relationships, improves communication, and strengthens trust between the village and its residents. Our committee structure does not support community engagement and event coordination. I think it's worth exploring the creation of a dedicated committee. So my recommendation, first of all, would be establishing a community engagement and events committee to coordinate and support engagement and community event efforts. Second, we should develop an official Village of Lansing, New York Facebook page that would be managed by this committee to serve as a central communications hub for village-related information. That would include welcoming new businesses to the village, sharing upcoming local events and community activities, sharing siren notices and public safety information, sharing the village newsletter and other official updates, cross-sharing information from other local organizations and partners. This would help improve overall village communications. A twice-yearly newsletter is not sufficient on its own and does not effectively reach all segments of our population. The goals in our comprehensive plan reflect a need to strengthen communication, transparency, and community connection within the village. By creating a dedicated committee and improving how we share information, we can ensure residents are better informed, more engaged, and more connected to what is happening in their village. Just as importantly, these efforts can help foster greater interest among residents in becoming more actively involved in village government, including serving on committees and contributing their time and perspectives. Ultimately, these steps support a more welcoming, accessible, and responsive local government.
I think it's right again.
Sounds like good ideas. Yeah. Give Jody a copy of that letter and we include it in our minutes.
The one thing they did talk about when we went to conference is they didn't recommend Facebook because of the nastiness that gets going on.
But we wouldn't run our page that way. Our page, my thoughts for that were, if we were to create a page, we would be, we would first go through and follow other organizations. We would follow every business in our village. We would follow nonprofits. There are like in Lansing, I know I'm following like 5 different Lansing pages that are always sharing all kinds of information, like the 250th. If we had a Facebook page, we could have shared that event that would have gone out to however many people are following us. And I mean, that's why the one thing that I said about cross sharing, there's a lot of cross sharing that is done, and people are really grateful. You don't see nasty comments. I mean, we wouldn't be sharing like, you know, we decided to build another fast food place or something like that. That wouldn't be the types of things we would be sharing on here. Maybe once the place opens, we could say, oh, you know, look what the Village of Lansing new business, you know, blah, blah, blah. But we would be sharing more informational things. So it wouldn't be like a political type of communication.
You could also just have no comments.
Well, right, we can also set it up for no comments also, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, and it's not, and this is like not an exclusive list, which is things that I suggest that we can include. I'm sure there's many other things that we can include on here. And also the Community Engagement and Events Committee, it doesn't have to be that title. I had a couple other suggestions, maybe Community Engagement and Outreach Committee might be a better title for the committee. That would be something we could decide on. But even if we did create this committee, it would take us a while to get it going because we need to find interested people who would be interested in this. So we have to kind of start from the bottom. It might take us a year before we
So
have.
the way we did it with the Commercial Area Advisory Committee was basically I just wrote up who would be on it, so how many members do you have? So then we would say, I want a member of the Board of Trustees, I want a member of the planning board, I want a community member, preferably from different areas of the village. But you set it up as preferably because you know you're gonna get how many people you want, and you probably have a copy of what we first sent out for that, but you know,
Maybe somewhere, yeah.
if you wrote something up that was like pretty similar to that, then we could.
Well, I mean, I did everything about that, Carolyn, you know.
Or could that start with the business community? I mean, that might be a good place for it to start, get their ideas about this.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah.
We can mention
So, I
that.
mean, so one of the things was the little blurb that I had put together for the Community Engagement and Events Committee shall advise and assist the village in fostering community participation, coordinating community events and programs, supporting engagement initiatives, and strengthening connections among residents, businesses, organizations, and local government. And then I had one or two trustees as a liaison, so not actually on the committee, but a liaison. One planning board or zoning board representative, several resident volunteers, and possibly a business or nonprofit representative. So it doesn't need to be a large group. It can be, I'm thinking, you know, maybe 4 people, I don't know, and I definitely would want to be on it, of course. Because I have so many ideas, but I know Solden probably has a lot of ideas too, so.
I don't see why we wouldn't do it, like, let's just move forward.
Yeah, well, I don't know, what does the mayor say?
Oh, it's trustees' decision. Write up a proposal for us to consider, and we can discuss it, and then form a committee, or not form it, but form a committee to see and just see, get it started. And then as it needs to evolve, we can adapt what we need to do. It's not anything, we don't need a resolution, I believe, to start a committee. But we do need some kind of structure to it to know who's going to lead it, who will be responsible for communicating the meeting times, holding the meetings, capturing minutes, reporting the minutes, things like that, that have to be done because it would be a village
Yes.
committee.
Right.
So there are some structural parts of it that need to be considered, but that's usually not that hard.
Right.
So,
And it's perfectly aligned with climate smart communities goals. So the outreach, public education outreach and civic engagement is a key component. So,
Great.
yeah.
So
And
then-
in line with the comprehensive plan, if you look at it too.
No, yeah, you didn't have to carry on it again. No, I think that's, we were talking about, how do we get more involvement, and it's not just one thing, it has to be multiple things, that's what I think about your proposal. Social media, management, right, email, so I think, I think it's a great idea, I like that.
I also have a long-term goal of improving our website, and I was just starting to think about what's the best way. But community engagement is really what a website is for, that's number one goal,
Right.
is to give information to people, so I've just started to think about what's the best way to present information on a website to get it kind of where you want it to be, make it easily accessible, people can find this information here. And it's just very obvious to them what they need to click on in order to find out exactly what they want. And I've only just started thinking about that because I told the trustees this, I went to a meeting where somebody told me that their daughter was actually taking a class in this, there was a class on municipal website successes. And her daughter had took a case study, like wrote about a municipal website for like a small town and analyzed it, but then her professor has written all these scholarly articles about what makes municipal websites successful. So I just started thinking about this, like on my summer projects, is to look about, to kind of look into this topic more.
Well, funny that you say that, because I also have written down here that maybe this was something that this committee that was formed could help out with bringing things to the attention of the trustees or Jody to help her out and saying, hey, Jody, maybe we should have this on the website, or can we change this? And one of the things that I always have a problem with the village website, because I'm always searching for things, and there are a lot of boxes, but the boxes are below. And I'd really like to see those boxes moved up to the top, so you have a button at the top, say, for village government or village committees. And if you click on that button, it'll list each board, the trustees, the planning board, the zoning board, and then each committee, the Greenway Committee, Climate Smart Community, that's just one of your committees, right? And then your commercial advisory committee. So if you click on the top, they would all be listed, and then you go click on them and it would go to their individual page. Where now you're creating a tab, and that doesn't make sense to me, and everything should be up to the top. The other thing I just want to bring up really quick is the village government page does need updating. Soledad needs to be added, Lisa needs to be taken off, and also there are phone numbers on there for all of the village board members and planning board members. Is that necessary to have everybody's personal phone numbers on there?
You are public people.
I know, but I looked at some other municipalities and they don't have personal phone numbers on there. They have email addresses, and we all have our village email addresses there. I would think that would be enough.
If that's enough, I prefer to take a phone.
Well, me too. I don't really like having my phone first. I don't answer my phone anyway if you're not my contact. But anyway, so that was just one other thing, but yeah, so
have you finished your topics?
Community engagement was the last one, but just with regard to just continuing this discussion a little further, I know that we considered and then rejected municipal codes for our village website. However, when we do revamp the website, I'm hoping people will reconsider that decision, because I find the searchability, information that we're trying to provide the public for, and we're not providing that to them in the most accessible form, we're providing it in the least accessible form. And I think that that is unfortunate. I'd rather see us have a really excellent, up-to-date online code system akin to all the other municipalities.
You're talking about E-codes, the one that.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, did I call them municipal, I meant general.
That's, well, I think it's worth at some point revisiting too. I know when we talked about it before, though. You know, we knew even the process that we're going through right now, we knew that there was a lot of cleanup to be done, and that's something that. We needed to do ourselves
Yeah.
before reconsidering
And
it,
then
but at some
once
point
that's
it might be worth reconsidering.
Once that's done, and once we're redoing the website, making it more user friendly, I'd really like to make that code accessible to the public in a more user friendly way. So does anybody else have personal ideas where something struck them from the comprehensive plan that they really think it should be a topic of focus?
I just went through and I just went through the goals and the bullet points and picked out things we've already accomplished. And establishing the commercial area advisory committee was one of them. Updating the comprehensive plan was another. There are things we need to do with the policies that need to be updated. For example, the emergency plan needs to be updated, and part of that would be, so there's the template that the county Department of Emergency Response has. And we'll be doing that this year. The deadline is the end of the year. We want it as an annex to the county's plan. And that's something that we need to be involved in from all phases of any kind of emergency disaster incident. So that for me would be a priority, and it's also in the comprehensive plan. There are three components: growth, character, and what was the other? Growth, character, and community. The longer, so you can look at it within the context of 5-year, 10-year. So long-term master connectivity plan fits right in with all of the Greenway goals. The emergency plan is intermunicipal. And communication events is critical for getting people involved. So but the other thing that is on my list is housing that's affordable for people that work here and young families starting out. So anything we can do to facilitate in a proactive manner affordable housing with a variety across the age and income spectrum, for me, is something that is in the plan. And then like the vacancy law, anything we can do with non-maintained, poorly maintained properties in a proactive manner.
One comment related to affordable housing, and you sort of alluded to it, but we need to be clear that we could make really cheap, small apartment housing for maybe a slim student. But the real goal is affordable housing for a diverse neighborhood that's got many age groups in it, particularly young families, young professionals with family members, children, and so that would be the goal. We don't necessarily buy into the develop, but when developers come in and are interested in properties, that should be the goal. We'd have several that have been planned in the past that haven't completed that process for whatever reason. I'm not sure we could help them out, but I think I'm saying things that we all know about. I know the planning board's goals have been stated. It's similar to this, but it's just not just a lot of housing, but it's a lot of housing that's good for family-sized units and multiple generations, which I think is a healthier neighborhood than just seniors, just students, just families. So that's my only comment.
are more along the lines of universal design, which looks to across the age spectrum.
Yes.
And quality.
Right.
But we also have to be
And-
very careful with this too, because we certainly wouldn't want to see something like what's happened downtown. There'd be a stereotype and, you know,
No,
so we have to be very emotional.
yes.
And maybe we can talk about it when we get down to the vacancy and commercial maintenance.
Right. Okay, for this particular topic, are there any other discussion points or just questions about the comprehensive plan implementation? Okay, then we'll move on to community outreach and engagement, which I think we've kind of just discussed that, didn't we? Is there anything else beyond that? I think there are several good ideas, and I think we've at least got the ideas and we can proceed with the implementation of the ideas. So thank you,
Say
Lori.
that when I tried to do community engagement, the most successful way I've found to reach people is that each neighborhood or apartment complex tends to have a listserv within itself, and if you can reach out to the person who's manning that and ask them to move forward around, that this means like I've had success reaching people in that way.
Well,
It's
we don't have a list at East Point,
We
so
don't.
that, no, we don't, and so I think. In my personal opinion, I think listservs aren't as popular as they used to be, and part of the problem was that the spam filters. Get in the way. I mean, I don't even get the village newsletter, or last month, Mike knows, I've told him this like how many times now. Outlook zapped it right out of my box. I saw the message come in and it was gone, like, because it's a lister, and the way the Outlook is and all the spam filters now, it just doesn't like lists. But it goes to a lot of people's junk mail, it goes to their spam, so if you can go in and check and see how many people are reading and how many people are actually opening, I don't know if you have the capability of doing that, I think you would see that it's not reaching a lot.
I get a message back if it didn't go through.
But a lot of times they go to their junk mail.
They go through and it's filtered.
Well, there's a whole problem, I mean, this isn't a topic, but I think our email system has this problem. Our email system, the
And I
email
think
system
it
doesn't work well. And things go in spam, messages don't get sent, and I find it to be unuseful, so I don't use it, but I wish that we could use it.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm against listservs, but anyway, you know, I think we have to try everything.
But it can be,
Yeah.
back to some of the things we talked about, it can be part of it. It's
Yeah.
not like, let's rely on
Oh,
lists,
yeah.
that's it, no, if there is one and people are using it, great, if we
Yeah.
can get. In on that, perfect, but it's not gonna reach everybody.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And not everyone reads emails.
Right, yep.
Right, I mean, and another idea, and I've thought about this over and over again, is to send out a postcard to everyone in the village of Lansing. With a QR code on it to scan, or a link to the website, I mean.
I love your winter market idea, is that?
Yeah, that was a good idea. I had to
Yeah,
talk-
And I,
it's
it's not
always
exactly,
busy.
yeah, I've kind of thought about this, I never thought of.
Yeah, the why-
that. We
That's,
should mention that with Spencer when. at the
We
meeting.
can, but Spencer's not in charge of it, and so we would, I mean, you can't, just be careful. The way that you go about it, because someone runs that farmer's market, and so. I know Christina Wool, who has the artisan shop over there, she is heavily involved in the winter market, I'm pretty sure. And so we wouldn't want to be charged to have a space over there, put a table, if we do that like once a month or something, or maybe once every couple months, so. But yeah, you can talk to Spencer, but I wanted, one of the reasons that I like this idea of the committee is because I'm a very detail oriented person, and I like to do things in a certain way and a certain structure. And very organized, and so. I would want a plan before we approach them.
I love a plan, once we
Right,
have.
I mean, I wouldn't just start like, I want a plan, this is what we need to do, this is who we need to talk to, let's start here and see what happens. And so,
I mean, that's the comprehensive plan's first principle, which is to plan things, so. That's a great idea, and I'm not opposed to that at all. I think that that's what this village has fundamentally always done really well and needs to continue to focus on, which is like coming up with a plan. then moving forward. So that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I don't think it would be one of the first questions I would have for that when a market is, do you have any spots for, not-for-profits? And could the village take over one of those slots for, not the whole winter market, like you said?
Like maybe every couple
Yeah.
months is.
Yeah, every couple of months, just and see how it works, because I guess, once you start interfacing with the public, you probably will get new ideas about what they would like to see also, and where they would might be, so.
So one thing
That's a good idea.
one thing I want to mention is I did look into this too about us having tables at events and things like that. I mean, sure, we could just have a table, right, and talk to people, but we have to pair it with things. So my vision would be to have information about our parks. You'd have your new mats. We have clean energy programs. Safety, information projects, a lot of projects that Kathleen is working on, these are the things we need to talk to people about. Even if we were at a YMCA event, we would have to talk about these things. And then it's considered okay.
Well, you can tailor it to your audience too, right?
Mhm.
Especially like a YMCA event. I mean,
Oh, yeah, we could.
you can talk about the scouting, but I mean, like, just information for youth might be interesting, even if it might not so much to the youth themselves, maybe the parents of the youth that are there.
That's
living.
right.
So I think you can tailor it depending on what you want. It's the same base
Yeah,
information.
yeah,
but
as long as we have. multiple things
That's
to
that
talk
planning.
about.
Right.
And
Great.
expanding on, Jody does a really good job of welcome to the village and expanding on that with, highlights of the village. We have so many resources in this village. That people may not even know about, that we can just take turns highlighting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot we can be doing.
Okay, then the next topic. Obviously, the topics we covered tonight, we're not covering everything in all aspects. These are just ideas, so don't lose the ideas. If new ideas come up later, bring them up to whichever board or all of the boards, a new idea. So just want to affirm that. Near and long-term development in sewer units. I wasn't quite sure what this means, and I'm afraid that I do know what it means.
Yeah, so it was Brent that brought it up, and Brent's obviously not here tonight. I mean, I can kind of jump in on that. I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, this was, Brent brought it up, Mike said about 2 or 3 years ago, he requested some type of survey to find out, what, at that point with the long-term, building outlook looked like. And, he was concerned, we were at a kind of a critical point, where we were somewhat concerned about available sewer units. And these are kind of ballpark numbers that we're talking about. Vern said that the village had, correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, it was close to 260 units available.
265, I
At the
believe.
time, and at that time, it seems it was kind of critical, kind of a emergency, because we had a possibility of 3 or 4 large developments coming through. We had approximately 50 for the beer development. We had another 175, I believe, for the uptown development for the Cornell property. We still had the parcel that's on Warren Road between Dark and Northwoods. That was getting some activities, so possibly 30 to 40 units at that point. So we were burning up our units relatively quick. And when some of those started to fade out, then we had the chance for East Point 2 to come in, which is 140 units. So we were kind of thinking what's gonna happen here. Since then, a lot of things, the atmosphere has somewhat changed, and we have a lot of those developers, I haven't had communication with them at all, and Brent kind of wanted a photo of the current situation. Right now, I mean, the only real hot subject would be Volmex parcel with 110 units, which still puts us way under the 260 threshold. of units available. So Brent just kind of wanted to get an idea, or wanted us to talk about, or me to let you know, what was on the burner, what's possible, what's gonna happen. Now, who's to say these aren't gonna pop back up and something's gonna happen? I don't know. But, to me, they seem relatively, on someone's way back burner at this point. So, I think it would be good, to either speak to Brent or his the replacement over there that's running the same, job that Brent did, to kind of give him some accurate numbers of where we're at. So, once I do that, I'll probably send it to the mayor and the board of trustees and see what kind of feedback we get from that. But I think that's something you take that.
When you send that, send it to the planning board members too, because they're gonna be the first line of defense about what's gonna happen. So I think we all need to know.
Okay.
And, yeah, just ideas, and like you say, the developments that were pending. Something might happen to the economy or to a new owner that would want to start developing, so. We need to keep our eyes on those, and I know you do that, so, as soon as we hear of something that might be coming up, then it will, once again, it's going to raise the concern that has been ongoing for close to a decade now. There are some ideas, this is tangential but significant, there are some ideas about how to improve the, distribution of sewer unit or sewage, in between the, city of Ithaca and Cayuga Heights wastewater treatment plants. And so there may be some development projects that the village would be contributing money to. So we would have to budget for those. There's nothing definite, but there are ideas in the pipeline, to use a bad pun, that might happen. So there could be a significant, I won't say significant, but important budget hits for us that we will have to prepare for and pay for. And, just a heads up, and that might alleviate some of our sewer unit problems. But I can't guarantee, until we get it engineered. And so we just need to heads up for any type of new development that might be coming on. And there is going to come a time we will have to say, we cannot allow you to build it because of the sewer unit constraints. And we're in the process of trying to relieve some of that, but I can't promise that it will be solved. So,
Mike, when you talk to Cayuga Heights' new engineer and they're adding up what numbers they think that are available to us, I wanted to ask Brent about single house construction, like sometimes some neighborhoods, they'll find a lot, they'll divide it, and they'll put a house there. And he said to me, those don't count towards the sewer units, like even though it's a new. So just when they give us our number, make sure they don't go picking through all the neighborhoods.
yeah, they haven't in the past, but you
Right.
never know.
Well, when it's a new guy, I want to
never know.
what's the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the ones and twos,
We'll have a steady amount once we from you guys to each your guys start tapping into the new system. You're gonna be taking some units there, but I'm curious to see if we still have the 260 available or whether they cut the bag. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know more when
and encourage them to, in our favor.
I'll be good.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I appreciate that. So is that the content for this particular up? Just that we're going to try to get new numbers and see what happens with Cayuga Heights. Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, the next topic, did you complete your Greenway Committee summary, Carolyn? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
We're doing and I'm doing the report at the same time, so it's not as fast as I would like to in terms of come out that report at the end of this year, because we're also making some great decisions about, what's the plaque gonna say, the shade garden, and which trees are we picking for, Ann Fury and things like that, so that's taking up a little bit of Greenway's time. So it won't be this year, but there's a report for you all to comment on, but when, when that time comes, hopefully we'll get a lot of feedback before we finalize it, just like we did with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, well, you're good at letting us know in stages what's happening. We provide comment as best we can all along the road too, so hopefully by the end, it's just a matter of summarizing what's happened. Hopefully.
Well, this plan will have a proposal for the future, so
Right.
that's the part that will really like a lot of feedback on.
Right.
And what's there is what's there.
Any questions or comments? Mhm. Thank you, Carolyn. The next topic is New York State Planning Federation Conference update. I guess that would be from someone that planning, right?
Yeah, so Lorraine and I went to the Planet Federation this year, and I really wanted to do this in person. We've talked about the planning board, but I really wanted to, have Lorraine and I talk about it here in front of everybody as opposed to sending an email to everybody and read. And also hearing us give the update, which we'll keep brief. I think you'll get a better sense from hearing us, and I'll say kind of passionate about it versus, reading an email and that, but. Lorraine, I wanted to briefly talk about just kind of just sort of some of the things that we went to. And just spend, a couple minutes on it, we'll keep it quick, but did you? Yeah, I talked to you.
So first, I just want to say that this was the first time that I've ever been, and I've been on the planning board since 2022. And I'm disappointed that I didn't go and encourage myself to say, oh, I want to go for this. It was a very valuable experience. I got so much out of it. Carolyn knows, and Kathleen, because after I got back, I was messaging them with all kinds of information and all excited because there was just so many things that I didn't know and I learned, so anyway, I was so thankful. Really glad that I was able to go. So I attended 6 different sessions. There was only one that Mike and I had overlap on, and I'll let him talk about that session. But anyway, so one of the sessions I went to was long range comprehensive plans, and it was presented by Matt Horn from the MRB group. And a few things that stood out to me, the presenter emphasized the importance of a strong vision statement, authentic, aspirational, concise enough to be remembered, descriptive enough to paint the picture. An example he used was the Village of Perry, which is up near Batavia, New York. And their vision statement. So if you ever have a chance, go to their website. And the mayor of Perry is a planner. So he did make a comment. It's always helpful to have a planner for a mayor. Yeah. Anyway, another thing he said was great vision statements are not taglines, overly general, developed in isolation, ever changing. Data to consider: are we growing? Employment, census data. A lot of this we have in our comprehensive plan. Demographics, economic and market, who's driving in and out to work, what's going on operationally and land use. He said, look for trends, how does it apply to local strategy, use this was one that surprised me. And Kathleen will probably laugh, use lots of graphics, data and pictures. You know how I hated all the graphics. People tend to get bored with too much narrative. And he suggested updating a comp plan every 5 years, not the whole plan, but just the goals that you complete. And one last thing, he didn't talk about this, but I wanted to just share this. The city of Corning won the Comprehensive Plan of the Year award. And the project was completed with funding by New York State Department of State Environmental Protection Funds for a Smart Growth Comprehensive Planning Grant. And I did go to the City of Corning page to look at it, and if you get a chance, you should check it out. It's quite hopeful. Yeah, it's pretty fancy. Another one that I attended was why design guidelines matter, and that was another topic that I was not, clued in on. I didn't know anything about design guidelines until recently, right? When we were working on it. And the presentation covered streetscape design, street design, complete streets, building, and historic preservation. The presenter used Ithaca design guidelines as a good example. And, Ithaca has 4 different design guidelines for their historic district, college town, downtown, and the waterfront. She talked about the importance of streetscape zones, what makes an area fun to walk around. The 3 zones, building zone, sidewalk zone, and amenity zone, which I had no idea that there were 3 zones on. Which would be your benches, your light poles, and your trees. Street design, typical elements, street furniture, street trees, lighting, signage, sidewalks, and crosswalks. parkless, outdoor, calm dining, parking and wayfind, complete streets, design typical elements, building design typical elements, historic preservation typical elements. And then she shared a whole list of grant programs and all kinds of links to resources. Another one I attended was engagement and conflict, turning challenge into opportunity. And the person that presented this was a former mayor of Seneca Falls. She discussed facilitator guidelines for community leaders, grounding the room, establish safety early and prevent escalation. That she talked about that a lot. There was quite a few town of Lansing people in this session. And she was pointing them out and calling them by name. That's how I knew. She also talked about community leadership, and her definition was leadership is the practice of convening, guiding, and enabling collective problem solving. Community leadership is less about directing people and more about facilitating processes that allow the community to lead itself. And then she had 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, make no assumptions, and always do your best. Another one I went to was when the answer is no, how to successfully disapprove site plans. They basically talked about understanding the authority of boards to deny land use applications, understanding common discretionary approvals, best practices for making defensible decisions, and seeker is never required to disapprove a project. And then fifth one was navigating ethical dilemmas in planning and zoning board decisions. This was basically an ethics refresher, potential conflict of interest, favors, that kind of thing. And then the last one Mike and I went to, and I'll let Mike talk.
Which one was the last?
That was
Together,
the large scale renewable energy.
Oh, yeah, so I will touch on that one. Yeah, I'll go over the ones. So the first one that I went to was really eye-opening. It was kind of a theme that followed across the book. It was just it's one they do every year. It's a planning and zoning law case update. But some of the recent cases that they brought up about where their village governments were, for lack of better, getting in trouble or getting under lawsuits. It really always seemed like when they got to the punchline about how it happened in the first place, like here's the case. Here's the backstory, here's what happened. It always seemed by the time they got to the punchline about what they could have done to prevent this, it's things that we do here in the village already. So there was this common theme as it went through that, right, everybody doesn't like everything, well, this got approved, why couldn't they build this instead of that? But at a base level, what Mike's doing in his office and Jody's doing in hers and the trustees and the planning board and the BZA, how we're working together. I couldn't think of an example of how we would have gotten into a situation that some of the other places did, because we just don't operate like that. So that was really promising.
What is specific things?
So there was one case, and I forget exactly. I have the slides here. All the slides are up on the NLPF.org site now, by the way, for the presentation. I think there might be a couple missing. But the bulk of them are up there. Some of them they were about, it was like a special permit was applied for, and they went down this path and they started doing this, started, yes, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, okay, let's move forward. And then, at one point the planning board finally got to the point where, and this is not how we do this, but they got to the point where the code enforcement officer says, well, that's not really the use here, it's really this use. But they had already put in all this time and effort and application and presentations and things like that in site plans. And that was kind of the general, like, how can you even know what you're discussing if you don't know what the use is? So that's right, that's the first one Mike does here. Okay, Mike, here's the special permit application. What is it? You can figure that out for us. All right, there are times that it goes to the BZA because the applicant disagrees with how Mike's classified it, which we're trying to clean up, to make Mike's life easier anyway. But so that was one of the prime examples in there about just a lot of it was order, and we're doing things in an order that would prevent that from happening.
One thing that I will say is that I've noticed, having been both on the planning board many years, but then also like trustees, is that sometimes it's hard for a person presenting a site plan review to hear what we're saying, even though we're saying it. And we might be doing exactly what you're saying, which is that we have our process, Mike is labeling it, but they're excited about their project and they don't necessarily hear us. So I just think that we have to continually take the temperature of the saying, did you hear that we said that the road has to be 15 feet? Because your plan still has 12, and they're like, yeah. But they're not hearing that the road has to be 15 feet. And so we just have to kind of like watch what they're comprehending, not just what we're saying. Because that often, that's 2 or 3 meetings later, then they're like, well, that's what you meant by 15 feet. That was the link, that was the list.
15.
Yeah, so I've noticed that in a few projects going forward, and I do the same thing in other aspects of my life, so I understand why they're doing that.
The second one I went to was what was it, I'll look at the official title here, but, right, just revising zoning. And there was a lot of information in there about just comp plans and things like that. There was a lot of good statistics in there about, municipalities across the state, this percentage of like, villages, cities, towns, and whether they have zoning or not, whether they have a comp plan or not, so all those things. And that, just in general, that was a very, given our comp plan update, it was a real interesting process or presentation to go through and listen to about how many places are really in the middle of, updating their things right now, and the topics that they brought up there about make sure you have a section about this and a section about this and a section about this. They're all in there. So it was definitely reassuring that, the process that we went through seems like we did the right thing. Large scale renewable energy permitting in local governments, was that the one, or was it the siting?
Yeah, but not large scale renewable energy.
Yeah. So that one was really neat. So it was put on by the Office of Renewable Energy Siting and Electric Transmission. So it's a state office. They came in and did a presentation. The reason that really I wanted to go was because of the solar law that we passed, and not that it seems like there would be a ton of places in the village where you could do such a large scale thing, but they talked about everything from right, wind to solar to battery. They touched on a little bit the resources that their department offers. They did, again, I would go and take a look. That presentation was very interesting. There was a lot of good data in there too. And just about the process that they follow, right? If somebody does come in and they do want to apply for, right, we've got our village code for this, for the solar law. If somebody did want to come in and do a large scale, what that would look like. I think the biggest thing out of that was too that, when somebody comes and applies and it's, large enough where it's really a state run process, the village stays involved, right? So they still have to come to the village. They still have to do things through the village. Village laws still apply. So if there's a village law that they don't want, I don't want to say don't want to follow, but they don't think they can accommodate for their solar, for their large scale solar, they have to write a reason why they can't do that, and it goes to, the state permitting it. And the person who's doing the presentation was very open about, more often than not, we're not going to accept that. You have to follow the local law. And that got me thinking about things like, the tree law. Say there was some, like, not that we really have one of these, say there was some 100-acre parcel and they're like, we want to cut down every tree and we want to put in a solar farm there. They would have to follow the solar law, because I talked to the gentleman afterwards and he was like, oh yeah, no, they would have to follow the law there. That wouldn't be something they would go and just say, oh, well, yeah, you can't fit all the solar panels on the property, cutting down every tree. So, you get a waiver for that. So that was kind of one of the interesting things there was, how the state works with the local municipalities still and whatever local laws and, policies and procedures we have here. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, I think that was my big takeaway from that one. The seeker update I ended up going to because the other session I went to, I was like, I don't like this, I'll go to the seeker update. The seeker update was neat. I feel like there's always a seeker update every year and they're always changing something. The big one this year was requiring agencies, I'm reading right off the slide, reviewing actions under seeker to evaluate, and these are 2 new things, whether an action may cause or increase a disproportionate pollution burden on a disadvantaged community. So that's not something that's in there now. Not, it'll be interesting when that comes out and we go through it to see, if there are places in the world here that it will impact. They give some.
Supplies that just because we can't
That's
cancel it.
in effect as of June 12th.
Yeah.
And I'll be sending something out, to everybody. It's just added, on each part 1, they've added 2 or 2 or 3 on the short EAF, they've added a whole section on the.
So, okay, it was a great presentation. They provided some updates about where, where some other places are like, oh, well, we want to, put in this new, I forget what the example they gave. I think it was like a solid waste facility. And they're like, oh, well, we'll stick it over there. And it ended up being in more of a disadvantaged community. And what impact was that going to have on an area that was already disadvantaged? So it was, that was kind of the takeaway from that one. There was a real interesting one on it was called 1 year into the new DEC wetland regulations. That one was really neat. We spent a lot of the time talking about a case where somebody had, right, so it's pretty much, here's the wetlands, there's protected, there's buffers, so you can't, you're not supposed to obviously build over a protected body. They talked about things like that. But there was, with the new buffering around those, the additional buffering for commercial activities. They gave an update on this area that was pretty much like a 20 or 30 acre piece of property, had been passed down for generations. It was gonna be, the people who owned it was gonna be their retirement thing. Before they were gonna sell it, these new regulations went into effect. And after the 20 acre lot, when you took the wetlands into effect, where you couldn't build near because of the normal setbacks. And then the additional bufferings around them, just how it ran through, they ended up with like 3 buildable acres for commercial on this 20 acre lot. And so again, not sure how that would apply here at the village, but we have these things here and, we're under the same regulations, so. And then the last one I went to was just a public officer law update, which was the big takeaway from that. We were talking about, people brought up the data center in the town of Lansing. But there was some really good information on putting moratoriums into effect. And I was always under the impression that they had to be there kind of in place, like, well, we better do something now if we don't want them to be able to do that here. But that's not the case. Somebody could come and apply for a data center in the village of Lansing tomorrow, and we could say, you know what? We're gonna put a moratorium in place as long as they haven't, begun any substantial, well, I don't know if it's construction or really progress on that. So you don't have to have it in place before somebody applies. You can say, here's an application, we're not ready, we're gonna put a moratorium in place. You can't put like a 3-year moratorium in place. It's meant to be more of a finite amount of time for you to figure out how you want that to happen.
We could put a moratorium on carnivals right now.
Oh. Oh.
At this meeting tonight.
When I listened to the recording, I hadn't forgotten about that, I still have my piece of paper of carnivals, and I'm not to change the subject, sorry. But I remember we talked about the carnival before, and last year's carnival, there were a lot of problems over there, and law enforcement was there the whole weekend because of that person who was trying to get kids in his car. It was a huge issue last year. I don't know if you remember me telling you everybody that last year. Yeah, well, I think I told the planning board.
Did you issue the permit?
Hmm?
Did you issue the permit?
No, they didn't have the information yet.
To put a moratorium on carnivals?
You have to do it by local law.
Oh, okay, so you notice it.
Other than that big takeaway from it though, we're definitely gonna, so like Lorraine, I hadn't been since before COVID. It was great. We're really gonna encourage folks to go next year. I know that I think we budget for 2 people every year. We can, obviously, we'll reach out ahead of time to see, but I'm gonna definitely encourage people to go each year. Because it really was, I think it's back to the Osaka.
It's gonna be,
so
it's gonna be.
it's in Cooper's
The
Town.
hotel is great, and registration will start December 1st.
And that's it.
Good feedback. That's some interesting things you want.
Yeah.
That's great.
Let's go back to the streetscapes that we were talking about, Lorraine.
You get me know
So I have only some ideas about what could be possible. So as some of you know, we have Cornell Design Connect accepted our application. They're going to be looking specifically at the streetscape on Gannett, on what's it called, Leslie?
to get it. Sure,
On Trip Planner. Okay, I'm getting old. On Trip Planner as their project, and they asked me a few questions on what are you mostly interested in, and I said pedestrian comfort, I think. It's really what it's lacking. The only things that I can really think of, but they're hopefully we'll get more stuff out of the study, is shade trees, benches, colorful sidewalks and bike lanes. Like I've always wanted the bike, something that's painted in a different color because it's an inexpensive fix. And the bridges over 13 are being fixed right now by the state, and maybe they'll be more comfortable, but I saw somebody today with a disability and the sidewalk was closed, and I was going up 13 and I was just like, it's a tough walk across those bridges.
It is.
Yeah.
So did you have anything specific that you were like, oh, we can do that on different?
No, in fact, when I wish sometimes this was like a regular village instead of having such huge space, right? No, but I know every time I read through that, it makes me think, what can we do?
What can we
Get
do?
it out here? I mean, the only charming section of Trip Hammer is section out here that starts from like the car wash down, because of all the trees and trees that are gonna go away someday, but it's just kind of charming as you drive through there, but that's about it. Everything else is so like commercial.
Everybody keep their eyes open for charm ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to charm.
Something I saw the other day, I'm trying to remember which town, where I was driving through, but they had on their lampposts, they had lampposts like ours. But they had hooks on the
Yeah.
lampposts for hanging plants.
Flowers.
Oh, I know where it was. The Betterson Development downtown, where TJ Maxx at that plaza there, they had the hooks on all their lampposts. There were not any hanging plants on there, but
When we were at Lake Placid, with three of us, it was a drop dead gorgeous
Yeah.
weekend, and they had planters this big. Absolutely filled, and they were clearly municipal. So flowers can go a long way.
Yeah, no.
We could ramp up the flower program for sure, that could be.
I mean, I think it would be really nice. It just makes everybody feel that.
I will offer no assistance there because I think if I look at a flower, guys, and you do not want my assistance.
Yeah.
I
Plants
dig
come
a
to our house to
hole.
die.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's like an elephant graveyard for plants. So,
I think
But-
that flowers is actually a place where we could start, because it's not infrastructure.
Yeah.
We did start right out front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
but we started, but we can
Yeah.
continue, then we can expand.
the one thing I would comment, and I'm picking this up from, I watched the video of last Thursday's staff and trustees meeting. Shade trees you have to be careful along the roads because we've got a lot of large trucks and the limbs have to be trimmed away from the road, which can make the tree lopsided, but I, this is part of our discussion, ongoing discussion about planting.
So have you seen the plan from, so the Greenway Committee and John have been talking to People Landscape about replacing the invasive trees along Trip Hammer. And we had a discussion with them about sightlines and shade. And we have also conduits beneath the ground, every factor of the limiting that we have. So they did come back with us with a different plan that is very varied, because it's like, oh, you could put these three over here. Where John really wanted a unified look, he wanted one tree down the whole way.
Yeah.
But for a variety of reasons, the Greenway Committee wasn't in favor of that, including that there's more variety, there's more hardiness to the situation, there's also more visual interest for longer periods, because this one's really beautiful in fall, this one's really beautiful this week in spring. And then also it solves this problem of this place, the ground is so shallow, and then this place, we can go tall actually, because weirdly, there's not something blocking up there where there is every other place, so. Doing 10 different trees actually works better for all of these problems that we have on Trip Hammer.
Because the conditions are different.
Conditions are different everywhere,
Right.
so that's.
That makes sense.
We haven't had a chance for the Greenway Committee to look at that, and then for John to look at it again. But then when we do, we'll look with everybody to.
So, we're working toward that plan.
We're working to, I actually have a picture of it right here.
Well, and to your point too, back to engagement as it pertains to this, so up in Trudersburg, I spend a lot of time up there too. They've got flowers, they've got gardens all over the place. They've got I don't know if it's an official committee or not, but they've got all these different community gardens all over Trumansburg. And there's a group of people who go and take care of them, and they are kind of divvied up between, because one of the folks lives up there, that I know. She says, she'll go out and she's responsible for this big one, and maybe these two little ones, and it's, it's a group of people that love to do that thing, though, whereas you do not do that. But so they're helping do that, that's part of their engagement with the community, right? They don't sit on the board. Trustees, the planning board, the BZA, they're doing stuff in the village too to help. They go out, they plant, they clean up, they water, the village provides some stuff up there for them to help take care of it, and they go do that.
That's great if anybody can find that in the village.
Well,
I know that
back to the community engagement, if we could,
That's right.
it would be great.
The Orcuts do our flower boxes. The bank has taken over the garden that we own with the wall right there as you're coming from Cuba Heights. They've taken over that and redone that. That looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I've talked to, there's somebody that lives in Lansing Trails that was part of a garden club or something, and I tried to get them to come volunteer. But if anyone knows anyone, send them in. definitely.
Yeah, I know, but speaking of Village of Friendsburg, you know, they have a much smaller population than we do, but they have a lot of committees, and they do have an events and tourism committee. They also have a farmers market committee.
They do.
But you know, it took them many years to get things off the ground, especially the farmers market committee. I mean, they started with nothing, and now many years later, I've not been to their event. It just started out for the season, I don't know, like maybe.
I go there almost every Wednesday. It's
Yeah,
nice.
and it's not, it looks
Right.
like they have a lot of stuff going on, they have a lot of vendors, they have music, they have food, they have everything. But all of that takes a lot of work and it takes many years and they have many volunteers.
And if we want to do that, we have to start something. So
That's
there you go.
right, and so like, you know, me, you know, recommending this committee, it'll take a long, long time to get what we need. It's not gonna happen in a year, you know, it takes a lot of work. And
But that's that stepping stone. And
that's right.
like I said, put a proposal together.
This reminds me of the Lansing, Town of Lansing Recreation Department. Same thing happened with they got the person that was in charge got all these volunteers. I mean, we had pro baseball players teaching all the parents how to teach the kids. And you had all these professional athletes that were helping out, but the same thing. It took people getting involved and, you know, kind of coaxing, come on in, help us, give back to the youth or whatever. So, I mean, we can do it, but.
That's actually what happened with the rec partnership adding these new pilot programs. They had somebody who was like a quasi-professional water polo
Mhm.
player who wanted to teach water polo.
Mhm.
So they said, let's do a water polo
Yeah.
pilot program. Wanted to see what the interest is, and there was interest.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right teacher,
That's right.
the teacher is more important than the topic.
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking about other places that have events throughout your yourself out too.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you both for good updates and discussion. The next topic is Commercial Area Advisory Committee. And you said a little bit about
I
that.
started to have more to report because our first meeting is going to be in 2 days, so. I'll have more, but everyone's really enthusiastic about it, and I sent everybody a copy of the comprehensive plan today and a copy of the design guidelines. I said, this is brand new, and this is really what I want you to review this and understand where we're coming from on the economic issues. And this is really old, the design guidelines, they're not even the right zone,
Really?
they're commercial low traffic, and Brick Hammer Road is commercial high traffic, so it's not even accurate. So this is where we are, and this is what we need to fix, and hopefully the committee members are gonna be.
There's 9.
I think there's 10, because when I email, it's to 9 people.
Oh, and then yeah, there you go. Okay.
good, I can't wait to hear how that goes.
Yeah, that's good. Let us know what they say. What time is your meeting?
11,
11?
There's a Zoom link.
yeah,
That's Wednesday, right?
it's
Thursday.
Thursday. Wednesday, we're
I guess so.
Greenway committee meeting at noon, and then Thursday, we're having the AAA at 11.
Thank you, Carolyn. Next topic, the battery energy storage systems, was in this meeting. I know we've had a presentation about a future development. What's the status on that?
Yeah, so we had, I just wanted to pull her name. So we had at our last planning board meeting last week, we had Kaylee Firth from Sole Source Power come and do a presentation. She's a project developer, according to Signature Line. So she came and she told us a little bit about Sole Source. She had a slide that I'm sure if you want, Mike can send you a copy of it if you don't already have it. She came, she did a presentation just about best systems in general. And about what their company does and about, industry standards, specifics, things like that. And then she moved on to a little bit about the proposed project up at the Fishing Game Club on East Shore Drive, and provided some information once people had a little bit of a primer about, kind of what the systems are and what they do and things like that. Then moved on to, and here's how that would be applied on the site up there. Gave us some aerials. We pulled up, I like to pull Google Maps when we ask questions and share it on the screen. So, well, what would it look like from the street? Here you go. What does it look like overhead? Here you go. So, and then, gave us all a chance to ask questions about, kind of impact and things like that up there. And her plan is to come back at some point. I think, Mike, I don't know when. Sometime.
No, I mean, it all depends on when I'm able to get you a draft of, New York State has about the same law, same as they did with solar law. And the formatting is somewhat the same, so I made a selection act about the same way I did on the solar. To, try to come up with some type of draft so that the planning board can take a look at it. Similar in like tiers and whatnot, how things are gonna be categorized. The new uniform code has its own section, a little emphasis on battery storage system, so. We're kind of staying with how, New York State is taking a look at it and increasing its visibility, so to speak. And also the new, 2021 NEC, the National Electric Code. Is really extensive on what can be done, especially for what's being categorized as tier one. Which are the ones you see in your garage, they're just self-storage for just that individual. So a lot of safety issues that they're putting in the National Electric Code for it, so they can't that we have adopted, so. It's getting a lot of attention, so I think it's about time that we really,
Are those household phones causing fires, Mike?
I'm sorry.
Are those household phones causing fires?
They're not, they've come a long ways with the safety of whether it's, and Kaylee showed that too, as, there's been an increase, they showed all the graph that. Before there weren't very many systems, there was a lot of problems with it, a lot of hazards, now it's just completely reversed.
There's been a vast increase in the number and the amount of instances kind of staying the same.
That's, they've made a better product, false, and then there's more safety features involved, especially with larger systems that have a better suppression system. And your fire companies are getting trained so much better on, so it's like anything else, to learn as you go.
Right. And if you're not aware, we already have two of these in the village. So there's one at Berry, one and the other one's.
Yeah, those are.
Yeah, thank you. It's the same.
One is at private.
But, right, whether it's, private or not, they're both best systems that would, right, if we had a best law like we do solar, they'd both fall into that same sort of thing.
The one she was introducing was, it's about a half acre site. No, I'm sorry, 1 acre site. Yes. It's larger than anything we've had to deal with.
Yeah.
But you can put it at the sportsman club on the East Shore Drive.
So you're in the process of trying to compile some sort of a local law for us.
I'm just opening the door.
Yeah, I started looking at the model law a couple weeks ago, and it's very similar. It's very similar to the solar law. It's not as heavyweight as the solar law was. I don't want to say less things it's a different technology.
Yes.
Right? So there's some stuff you just don't have to worry about, but there is some new stuff you do have to worry about. So
The ones that I saw, there were a lot of definitions in it that we have to be sure that they're still practical. For BSS, so, yes, yeah, so that's good, Mike, thank you. What, you have a rough idea how long that might take?
If I can get 2 or 3 days on, I can probably have a draft made up, just a pre-round for everybody to look at.
Right, yeah, that would be helpful. You don't have to polish it up, just so we can kind of get an idea and maybe provide some comment before we do polish it.
So, we had talked, planning board, we have a nice little span here, that we don't have a meeting till the 30th, that maybe I can get some time, get something done.
I wasn't trying to pressure you. If it takes longer, it takes, but let's do it right. Yeah, I just was curious if, we don't necessarily have to have it done before this installation is in, because as it's being considered, and we're writing this law, we can kind of judge its practicality for implementation. So, I think Kaylee would be open to that, and I think that they're kind of self-policing from the discussions that we had with her about this, so they're aware of battery energy storage system laws. And I think they're trying to be proactive in making sure they would be within a practical law.
Yeah, the state has set up a somewhat of a third party system that has to come in, they have to
Right.
completely separate from.
Yep, it's like-
Not affiliated with NYSERDA and they're not affiliated with the best company, they are. third
It's an
party
independent
system.
audit.
They have to check
Yeah,
everything.
all the design documents and everything, yeah.
That's excellent. And maybe that's something we need to include in our law. Do you have one of these? Someone that is basically a third party and can look at this objectively and tell you whether it's right or wrong. So anyway,
At least get the report from, we need to report on the third party system that they have against.
okay, good.
But
Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion or questions for Mike?
And they also have the training component that they included for local fire.
Yeah,
departments.
yes.
Kathleen, restate that this way because for the microphone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And if I listened correctly, they also had a training component that they provided
Yeah.
for local fire departments.
Yeah.
And if there is an incident, they have a response time on the scene,
Okay. Well,
so.
okay. Well, thank
those
you.
were two others.
The next one is the next topic is vacancy and commercial maintenance, and it said the mall. This is probably a little more generic than just to, from what Lorraine was saying earlier. So who brought this up? Would that be planning board or is it trustees topic?
No, I think you did, Ronnie, at one of the trustee meetings, I remember you talking about the mall and you said we should put that on the agenda.
Just-
I saw, I remembered on the
okay.
recording.
So it was from the past discussions we've had. Oh, that's easy.
Yes, I brought it up.
Um,
I would be willing to work with Natalie to draft or explore drafting a vacancy law. Very similar to the one that the town, is it the town or the city that the city?
But I
It's
it's right here because I sent it to my.
I saw it.
Yeah, I actually, this myself, but
Well, I did in case it came up.
Right, so there's,
It's
so
city.
it's the city and what they did, right, they had they created a registry. Vacant properties, I thought that it was called a registry, so it's a registry of vacant properties, and then there was supposed to be a fee schedule that went along with that, so yeah.
I would be very happy to create a registry and a fee schedule.
What?
If it's on you, it was all over the place.
Yeah, I
but
saw it on Facebook.
Yep. It was all over the radio
I
last
just
week.
see.
Can you, Natalie, maybe?
hang on, but there are side topics going on. We don't want that for this meeting.
I did not see it, are you talking about implementing a fee if the building is vacant?
Property owners would be required to register a building with the fire marshal within 30 days of vacancy or within 30 days of receiving notice that the property qualifies as vacant. Owners would have to pay a registration fee and submit a compliance plan detailing how the building will be handled moving forward. That plan could include demolition, rehabilitation, or strategy for securing and maintaining the property while it remains vacant.
So what is their definition of vacancy, do they say? How many days does it have to be vacant to be a
30.
vacant property? 30 days? Longer
30
than
days.
30 days? 30 days or more?
Once it's 30 days, then it triggers.
Okay.
I think that I said, well, what I was gonna say was I would be willing to let Natalie think about it for some period of time, and if she thinks that we could do a registry with fee schedule, I would be very interested in hoping to draft that.
When you say a fee schedule, you're talking about a tax or continuing vacancy?
Yeah, so that's what they had, so they had different types of buildings, so this specific part is residential. But they had it broken apart, 1 to 2 unit, 3 to 6, 7+ or non-residential commercial. And then the fee structure is different for year 1, year 2, and year 3, so, and then they have a calculation up above. Yeah, but it increases like from, either a nickel per square foot in year 1 or up to 20 cents per square foot in year 3 or later, so. A $250 fine or $250 fine in year 1, like year 3 turns into like $1,000 fine.
The final.
Well, they're calling it,
I just sent it to you.
Okay. thank you.
it says fine.
Effort to
It says
maintain
fine in the
year,
article.
so
It's
In
in,
theory, you could just take it as a loss. Year after year. But
Yes, but
also
if it's
we'll get-
significant enough
Sure, sure.
to
Yeah.
incentivize
Yeah,
a non-vacant property, I would be enthusiastic about anything.
we have one less non-vacant property now, even
Yeah.
the heavy equipment's gone, piles of now.
Oh,
Yes.
I do wanna mention, did anybody see the stove that somebody dumped off down there by the porta john?
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was gone this morning,
Oh,
but it's been there for several days.
Like a residential store?
Yeah, but it was gone this morning, so I don't know if somebody. Anyway, I really think, and I can bring this up at the planning board meeting, but I'm just saying now. There should be a construction fence around that property so people can't get in there. Chipotle, did you read?
About that. And
You did?
out there, I advised them to put up a.
Did you see the appliance that was somebody dumped next to the porta? Anyway, it's gone now.
Interesting. So it was a
It
commercial,
looked-
it
it's
was,
like- Where did that?
it was a commercial stove?
No, it was like a regular stove for, it was like
Oh.
a part, it was like a white, nothing fancy. But it didn't look old,
There's one on Gold Drive,
Yeah,
with
it's
a
depends on
free
some.
sign. It may have been the one that was sitting on Graham with a free sign,
Oh, I didn't see that.
like 4 or 5 houses up, maybe
It's a
someone.
walking stove.
Somebody connected that decided they wanted
Maybe,
to.
that wasn't a far walk.
I don't really want this.
Yeah.
They did, because that's like.
Interesting.
Okay, let's stay on top of
Yeah,
about
let's,
that.
Okay, so you're gonna look at a vacancy law. Yeah, that's a good discussion. That's good
I mean,
discussion.
yeah, I think that was, I know at the planning board trustees too, we talked about like zombie properties and things like that. That would be, it's come up enough where it would be great if somebody found a way to make some traction on it. You could implement here. Right.
So this would be a new way of receiving fines or of assessing and receiving fines to properties. So would that become Mike Scott's responsibility as code enforcement officer? We need to be careful
Yeah.
not overtax Mike. We need to balance it into his work schedule.
They'll make it life easier.
I hope it will.
Right.
Vacant buildings in the fire code for. It's or inspect, let's say, fire inspection. Vacant buildings are listed as. They may be subject to fire inspection. Which leads me to believe that it's optional. Which if you did a law or something, it may be advisable to put them on the same schedule as if they were not vacant. Therefore, for example, like, well, if a certain building whose sprinkler system is not working correctly, they would be required to fix that or somebody to find. Now you still have an additional amount of leverage on making someone clean something up. So that's something we might want to talk about.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And would this apply, apparently the city's applying this to residential units also.
Yeah, it's residential and commercial.
And commercial. I guess that an apartment complex would be considered commercial at that point because it's
That
multi-residential.
might be the 7+ unit, yeah.
Okay.
They had a 7+ unit
Okay.
residential,
So
which
that-
may be.
Okay, all right, well, yeah, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting, it's interesting, that was, that one,
Until issues arise.
the 1 to 2 and the 3 to 6 are actually dollar amounts, the 7+ unit one is a dollar amount per unit.
Per unit.
Yeah, so.
So I guess this is details. I'm thinking ahead, but Natalie and Carolyn and I guess Mike might get involved a little bit. These are all things that might come up in future discussions. So we need to at least get started in. It looks like we have a model to observe and go by. So, good. I think that's a valid concern. It's obviously come up before. Commercial maintenance related to the mall. I know that we have had problems with the mall. correcting issues, at least within the parking lots. So I know that we have made a decision to go forward with the litigation against them for not improving beyond the 90-day, 30-day cycles that we gave them to improve. So are there lessons learned from that that might help us in future for other properties?
I don't know if there's a lesson learned. In most cases, if I send out a notice, someone does it within that.
Right.
In this case, it seems like it's always gets pushed down to the brink. Of 90 days or the process of moving into it. Into the legal aspect of it. As it is now, I've spoken with Natalie, we gave her all the good information, so she starts the process.
Okay.
Lesson learned, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
And at this point. But needs to get me all of the notices that were sent and updated pictures. We have to give them, I think, 21 days of service. So it's probably gonna be like a month and a half out by the time we get drafts and served and.
So before the end of the summer.
Yes.
Okay.
What exactly would be the steps of the type of procedure you're using to get them to fix the road?
We'll file an action in the town of Lansing court for failure to abide by Mike's remedy orders. Seeking the fines for failure to abide per day that occur.
I guess the question I have, is that going to resolve the underlying problem of lack of maintenance on the roads? Will the maintenance get done, or will they just continue to pay fines? Yeah.
Safely say no.
Okay. So we will continue to fine them. So it's going to be a continual revenue stream for us, apparently.
It would seem like the tenants would have something to say about
Yeah.
that because they have that.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they all have to.
They're paying into this.
Yeah.
All has to.
Okay.
So Danny, it was very.
$100 plus a day, probably more.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions or discussions about that topic? Okay. We've completed the topics within our agenda. Excellent. Everyone's done a great job. Mike, do you want to have general discussion around the table from your planning board members to see if there's anything they want to add to the discussion?
Yeah, so we'll go around once. We've got 22 minutes left, so do keep them brief because then we do have the trustees. So I would say keep it to, topics that you would like to bring up while the trustees are here. If not, let's bring them up at the next planning board meeting. Jim?
Oh, I don't have anything.
Kevin?
So there's one thing I brought up in the multiple planning board meetings, and you probably have seen this, Mayor. The crosswalk on Dart. There's no sign saying there's a crosswalk. We all know how cars come flying down there. Like yesterday, our neighbor's little kid barely missed getting clipped on his bike getting across that.
Are you talking about the crosswalk that goes over to?
Right to the Big Lots, old Big Lots.
Right, that curve, just above the curve.
Yeah, because that curve, people come flying around there. They don't have enough time to see you and stop, or come the other way. On my house,
Yeah.
they don't have enough time to stop. Can we get signs that say crosswalk ahead, New York State law, like you see everywhere else?
We can bring that up with John and figure out what sign and where it could go. He's pretty good about that.
Yeah, why don't you send an email to John,
Yeah.
CC Ronnie,
Yeah,
and say, is this possible? He always replies to emails.
Yeah.
Although actually he replies to text even better.
Awesome, you know.
There.
just send an email. You saw a child that was almost injured.
Well, we've nearly got clipped a couple times.
Yeah.
I know I'm very careful whenever I
Yeah.
cross that.
I had-
Both ways twice.
I had a resident ask for some wayfinding signs to make Keo Heights Road where it's super windy a little bit safer, and he got them up, it didn't take a month, it took longer. But he definitely responded and got evaluated what would be helpful
Yeah.
for people and then installed it.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Everything I had on my list, I've already said throughout the meeting.
Seven?
I was wondering a little bit more about the vests and plans about, I've just been talking to some neighbors and a lot of folks don't even know that we have vests already in the village, so I guess sharing more about that and just concerns about noise and what it would mean for property value, and what it means to have an acre battery storage system, and so I think just more information, sharing that if we can, and 'cause I think it's that, I think we take for granted, and what our understanding of it and how in the current environment, it's pretty scary folks to think it's gonna be coming in something.
So that document that I gave you, that's available online, you can give it public information about by the state.
I read that and it was very long.
Yes, it is
and
very
Not very consumer friendly.
What I would say is, if there are people, as we start to talk about the best model law here in the village, have people come and listen to, I mean, that's the best, they're gonna hear our discussions and our thoughts, and we're gonna talk about all those things too. And when Kaylee comes back, you know, she offered, I think she said she goes around and she does these things, and it's almost like, it's not like a listening tour, but she'll be here, it'll be a public hearing, and people, you know, people will be able to ask questions there too and learn more about it.
I think there's some misinformation, or maybe not, I don't know, that it starts like a battery storage and then it becomes a data center and it's all kind of related to everything happening with large data and what it actually supports and doesn't support, so I mean, I think the common person doesn't fully understand, so I don't wanna take for granted that they understand knowledge, so yeah, I think, yeah, I'll share that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sharing.
And it's case by case, right? But I mean, like, the presentation that we got last week, I mean, she stated what it was used for. In their relationship with NICEAG, right? So it's.
Yeah.
But sure, other ones are, you know, the one at Dairy One, that's a private one, so that's, you know, that's. Slightly different than the one that they're proposing out there too. And then, yeah, sure, you could go and you could have a commercial one that really is more intended to, you know. Power something larger, that'd be a much larger.
I didn't think about this until you just mentioned it. Are they noisy?
They're very.
Yes.
So what's the
It
best?
depends, so one of the things that they said they would provide. Is just like we get like photometrics for like light poles and things like that on property. They can do the same thing with acoustics for, you know, here's the decibel level. If you're standing next to it, if you're this far away, if you're this far away, and at different times of the day, right? So if it's a cold, you know, colder day where it's really the fans in them that are making the noise. So on a very hot day when those fans are running at full speed to draw as much heat off of them as possible. It's definitely louder than, you know, this morning, for example, if you woke up, but that she said that. She would provide us, you know, as part of the, you know, permitting process, that information about just acoustic levels.
We have a noise ordinance, correct? Is it by decibel? What's the limit of the decibels currently?
I look it up.
Compared to what a small decibel?
It's 90 decibels.
And then how loud would a small, would a small?
Yeah, she didn't give a decibel level. Not 90 decibels. I don't think.
90.
For research.
There is and I forget the municipality, they have a system in. That is a slightly smaller but a large size system, which I don't think is too far away. You should probably look up and see where it is and take a picture and listen to it. Cause decibel numbers mean nothing to me.
Right, yeah, you know, like, you don't
I
know,
don't know
like,
what,
how many decibels am I speaking that right
Yeah.
now, you have no idea. Or maybe somebody does.
like a demonstration of what the sound would
Yeah.
be like, I hear like an actual audio.
Didn't
could
she
ask
say
Taylor.
something that they
Yeah.
planned?
Oh, yeah, she can, I'm sure she could, right, I'm sure this thing that we're asking them to do,
Yeah.
we can't be the first ones that ask them to.
Right.
But Mike, didn't she say something about they point where the fans are, or whatever, they point something downwards so that they're not as loud?
Probably a sound
If there's a
baffle,
baffle on the top, yeah.
sound baffle.
I'm just thinking about like.
If they're redirecting the sound somewhere
Yeah.
else. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I have an electric mower, so when I have that thing plugged in the garage, it's a teeny tiny battery, it's kind of loud. It's, yeah, so I'm like, wow, if that thing is this much bigger, that would be really a hindrance to the neighbors for sure. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it.
And even if the decibel level is technically low, sometimes, you know, the very low pitch
bothers you.
Sound, the hum, you know, you can't really, you sort of hear it, but you can feel it. And
Yeah, and some of
it has-
that's animal effect.
Yeah.
Too. They might not have an effect on the water.
Yeah, the long-term effects of that continue just background hum, which you.
Someday,
hear this,
Yeah.
had a lot of out west, I think.
yeah, that came up in the meeting I thought last week, or maybe it was in the documentation, and yeah.
No, I think it did come up.
I think- I thought it
She's
was-
saying, wait, maybe I have it wrong, but she said it would be facing the gun club, right? So it wouldn't be affecting,
Now the people at the gun club are shooting away from the.
oh, right, but the
Yeah.
noise.
She said the trees would help buffer
Yeah,
it, and there's already noise from the gun club.
Right.
But it's not continual.
It's not continual
fire
noise,
at the
yeah.
gun club.
So
There is
you-
distance from the closest resident, I don't remember what,
It's not terribly far.
I don't remember what she said, 400 feet.
I
But
still-
If we get that audiometrics done, not to belabor this, right, when we get that audiometrics done here, whatever, I'm not sure if that's.
Is it louder than the shooting? Cause I can hear the shooting at my house.
It's quiet.
No.
That's what way more than.
This would be.
Mhm.
All the time. Well, whenever the fans.
Is it death?
Yeah, no sleeping. Wait, did you hear all that? It's all.
So this discussion, we need to, takes me back to the DSS law. Is there anything in there about the noise?
Well,
That's what I mean. If not,
Yeah.
right.
Someday you'll be able to walk up to Dairy One, get some ice cream, and go stand by their bus system and see what it sounds like.
Probably a field trip up to the ice cream place and come. Sit at the picnic tables, they have the picnic tables out in the grass area already, and
All right.
we can sit there and see if we can hear it running.
Anything else, Lauren? I will just say the same thing, I do every one of these, I do appreciate that, everybody getting their topics in for us both groups to discuss, and yeah, it seems like it's getting better every time, so that's good.
A lot of new ideas today.
Yeah.
Time, which is great. All right, so we'll do a roundtable discussion for the Board of Trustees. Susan,
Nothing from me.
Okay.
Everything's been quiet.
Carolyn,
I just wanna give shout outs to some village businesses in case you guys are watching the World Cup. You can watch it at Long Shots. Atabay, the new, is that what's the name of the new? The new Thai place, looks like they're about to open their doors.
New news?
Right?
New.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I mixed up.
I thought you-
Yeah, I talked to,
Yes.
actually, I saw her last night,
Oh.
and, or the Sunday night, I guess, yeah, the rainstorm, and she said she's hoping to open up late this week.
It looked like
Wait,
it.
Michael now.
Yeah,
I just did her fire inspection today and issued that information on Friday.
She can open this Friday. Oh,
and the menu, she showed me the whole menu, it looks really good.
You're gonna be first to the door, I'll be second. And then Adelita's is gonna be opening soon, maybe?
They just waived their 30-day notice for a liquor license, so I assume it's still moving forward.
Is that the old Applebee's?
yes.
And shop local, everyone. Really local. Oh, and then the ice cream place, which is in the town, not the village, the Lake Watch Pizza ice cream place. They have decided to start making their own homemade ice cream.
Oh,
And
great.
I went on Saturday and they had root beer and strawberry cheesecake and salted caramel. The guy made them all himself.
Wow.
Check it out.
The sauce or first.
That was hard.
Oh, nice.
How was it?
I'm recommending it.
Okay. I'll have to go out and try it.
That's my report.
Now we're all hungry. Thank you. Carolyn.
Yeah, I was gonna say the cookies were good.
Thanks for bringing the cookies. Okay, Pat,
Good.
nothing. Okay, Kathleen,
Water Resources was this afternoon. It was a site visit, to the, Cornell Water Treatment Facility. And don't forget primaries, early voting, and, you can see the sample ballots on the Board of Election website, and putting in a plug, if you ever go to the toy lending library, it's great if you've got kids or grandkids. And that's in the village.
And I didn't say that.
Kathleen, where did they move to?
Who?
The toy library, wasn't it moving in the mall?
It's in the
Or was that-
corner, near the barber shop. Where the old,
Across from Mount
There was
And
then there's another like reading section, as you walk to the.
family reading.
Maybe that's, I was getting it confused with the reading.
And then there's the family reading partnership and, yes.
Anything else? My topic for tonight is that I wanted I don't know if you've all received an email from Bolton Point, but they're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. Wednesday, July 15th, from 12 to 3 p.m. They're going to have plant tours, hands-on demonstrations, and historical exhibits, plus the best tasting water in the land, according to them. I'm not sure we could disagree. They have great water. So I will be posting this on the website later.
And there's copies right there if anybody wants them, and also new directories if anybody wants them. And I heard that some people might need a comprehensive plan. Those are laying there also.
Okay. So
There's my informational table.
Jody. The table of information. Okay.
A thief, lobby and, clean boating, Cuba Lake. It was, the Water Resource Council Education Committee. It's got everything you could possibly imagine. It's fabulous.
Okay. Okay. That's it for the trustees. Mike?
So I will entertain a motion to close the planning board portion of the meeting at 9:22 p.m. Motion by Soledad,
Second.
second by Jim, all in favor?
Okay. Okay, and for the trustees, I will move that we adjourn. I need a second.
I second.
Susan Ainsley, sorry.
Open what's your name?
Susan Ainsley seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, our meeting is done 8 minutes early.
7?
Oh, wait, there was some. Thanks, everyone.
Last chance, guys.